Southern Miss head basketball coach Jay Ladner is on the program. I'm Bryan Fenley with Fox Sports Radio. Coach, this is your alma mater. What a thrill of a lifetime to be able to be a part of this fine institution and lead these guys. You're so familiar with all of these players and this program, being that you were a player here yourself. What's an element, though, of this job that you've had to work a little extra hard to familiarize yourself with?
Well, first of all, Bryan, I'll say this: I'm very conscious and grateful for this rare opportunity that you're referring to, and someone that grew up. Of the 300 and what we have 51 or 52 Division I playing schools, how many coaches have had the opportunity to go back maybe where they even went to school and fortunately and to play. So I'm very conscious of that, and I'm very grateful. I never really felt, not that my goal in coaching, I was just on a Zoom call prior to this call, and they were asking me, I had a young coach was asking me my route. He was wanting to know, Coach, can you give me some advice how you did it? He's a high school coach. And I said, I never really thought about it. I said, I was a high school coach at St. Stanislaus High School, which is a all-boys Catholic school in Bay St. Louis, Mississippi. It's about 60 miles from here. Great school, been around since the 1850s. Loved it. And I thought that was the best job in the world. I didn't have this route that most people take into Division I. And obviously, I grew up here in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, had the opportunity to come over and play at Southern Miss for Coach M.K. Turk was the famous coach here at that time and has passed away, but was a mentor to me. So I just had a dream come true. And then, so I'm coaching in high school. I coached for 20 years. After my 20th year at the same place, I come back to my home high school and really thinking that was going to be my last job. It didn't, again, never in my mind that I was going to, or even wanted to. I just felt like that, hey, I love working with young people. I love working with young men, helping them hopefully be a tangible influence on them being successful later on in life. I grew up the son of a high school coach, so I kind of had that mentality. Come back to Hattiesburg, to my home high school, and I felt like that would be my last job, to be honest with you. The Lord opened up a door for me just north of Hattiesburg. Jones Junior College called me about their position, and I thought and prayed about it. I said, I'm going to give it junior college basketball a shot. And I said, I've never done that. I said, but I always felt like I could go back and get a high school job. Sure. If that didn't work out. And that was really my mentality. So we go there. My second year, we were fortunate and won the National Junior College Championship in my second year at Jones. And by early the following week after we had won the national championship, I had been offered the job at Southeastern Louisiana, which Hammond, Louisiana is not very far from Hattiesburg. It's only about an hour and a half. Okay. So there was some familiarity there with that particular. I had a number of family members had been athletes at that school, to be honest with you. So we go to Southeastern Louisiana. They had been down on their luck a little bit, and we were able to stabilize and get the program turned around, won the league, fortunately won the league championship. I loved every minute of my time there. And then all of a sudden the job at Southern Miss developed when Coach Sadler left to go to Nebraska and reunite with Coach Hoiberg there. And so all of a sudden the Southern Miss job opened. Well, I had played here, gone to school here, and then just really blessed with the opportunity. I can't tell you how excited the excitement has never subsided, Bryan, from the minute that I was offered the position here till now. In fact, it's even more so, and because I think now that we've been able to lay a foundation, and we've had our first recruiting class. Obviously, last year, by the time that we got the job, recruiting was pretty much over with at that point, and we were able to. I was proud of our team last year, but this is our first recruiting class. This is going to be the class that's going to either move us on forward, which we're excited about, and obviously from this point forward, I think is where we'll be judged. But anyway, with all that being said, I'm incredibly excited of where I am with our program, or where we are, I should say, with our program and what we've been able to accomplish in a short period of time. And it's just a labor of love. When you can, Bryan, when you can go back to a place that you have incredible memories about, and help to bring that program, maybe look, I wasn't a very good player in college. I'll be the first, but I tell you this, I played with some really good players, and in the success that we had, we won we actually won the NIT in '87. And we played. I was able to play at a time here that you couldn't get a seat in our Coliseum, and each game was sold out, and just incredibly tough. We played in the old Metro Conference, which was Louisville and Memphis and Cincinnati, Florida State, Virginia Tech, South Carolina, just an incredible league. And so it's been done here at Southern Miss. It's been done at a high level, and that's what our goal is, to return Southern Miss to those days. Obviously, Coach Sadler did a great job of mitigating. Program had been on probation, and Coach did a great job of mitigating that situation, and helped us kind of get stabilized. And now it's our goal, vision, and passion to return Southern Miss to national prominence.
Isn't it something how life works the way it does? Maybe you had no plans of being the head coach at Southern Miss, or it seemed to be a distant thought, and in a roundabout way, you find yourself here where you were just happy with where you were, high school,
Yes.
Juco, and beyond. And then all of a sudden this opportunity presents itself, and you are at your alma mater. You spoke about that '87 NIT team. And I'm sure when you're around the campfire, or when you are talking with your players, that you glean some insight from that team that you
Sure.
can share with your current guys as far as storytelling or whatnot. What's a moment from that year that you are proud about, that is a story which you haven't shared a whole lot about?
Well, that's it's amazing to me, because now, we're talking about roughly '87. So, we're talking almost, was that 33 years or so ago. Amazing how many people, in particular, the Southern Miss geographical region, that still have an incredible memory about that team and that time here. And you can't, and again, I'm proud of it, obviously. And I couldn't get rid of that connection if I wanted to.
Sure.
I never want. In fact, that's something obviously we want to attach to and want to build in, because people, there has been a time that Southern Miss was a national power, may not be the right word, but was a national player, so to speak.
Sure.
Right after that set the tone for Clarence Weatherspoon, who had a great 14-year. He's on our staff. I want to make sure I mention Clarence. They went to consecutive NCAA tournaments and so forth. So it's been done. Being successful at a high level has been done here at Southern Miss. Now, you mentioned in a particular memory here, I really want to talk a little bit more about the process. Our freshman year, I came in with a great recruiting class. Derek Hamilton, Randolph Keys, who was a first-round draft pick for the Cleveland Cavaliers, Casey Fisher, John White, Kenny Seiler. These were great players on that particular team. And when you mention those folks here in the Southern Miss, within our Southern Miss family, people immediately attach and recognize to those people, those former players. But our freshman year, our signing class was Derek Hamilton, Randolph Keys, John White, Casey Fisher, myself. I'm certainly the least of that group. but anyway, we won 7 games, and here's what the process is. Rather than a particular game, and I can mention a lot of particular games, but about and I learned a lot about coaching from Coach Turk this particular year. We didn't have a great culture on our team that first year, our freshman year. had a great recruiting class, but not a great culture. At Christmas, and this, Bryan, this was back during the time that coaches could kind of get rid of guys. You didn't have APR, some of those things that you know, a little more restricted. Now a coach can't just clean house like he used to. But I still remember we were struggling that first year. We ended up having we were 7-23 in 1984-85 here, if you'll look back. And at Christmas that year, I can remember just after the first semester was over with, we were practicing in the old basketball facility here at Southern Miss was called the Sports Arena. It's their former facility. Beautiful, great old arena like some of them are. And that's where that was our alternate practice facility while the Coliseum was being used for December graduation. And I can still remember it was a cold December morning. We were practicing in the sports arena. And about half of our guys weren't there that day. And what had happened that morning, Coach Turk had cleaned house with a lot of the older players that were on that particular team. And the rest of the season, which, again, I want to go back to the old Metro Conference, Louisville and the people that we were about to be playing in conference play, we went in there with 4 freshmen and a sophomore in Kenny Seiler. Well, took our lumps that first year. But what Coach did is we had some guys, frankly, that had not bought into the way that he wanted to do things, and he got rid of them. And we took a youth approach and took our lumps. But that same team, as it matured, the following year we made the NIT, played Florida in the NIT the following year. Then the third year, obviously, in '87, we won the NIT, beat Ole Miss, beat St. Louis at St. Louis, beat Vanderbilt at Vanderbilt, and then went to Madison Square Garden, beat Nebraska and LaSalle that had Lionel Simmons and Timmy Legler, and those guys on LaSalle had a great team, but we did too. And I think we were probably, as well as we were playing, probably one of the – I would say had we made the NCAA tournament, which we probably should have, we're probably about a Sweet 16 type level team at that time. Really, really good team. And anyway, so it was that process that I probably remember a lot, meaning a Southern Miss team going from 7 wins in 83, watching that team grow in 84 to 87, 88 winning the NIT. Obviously, there were a lot of great wins when you played in the old Metro Conference, and the great players that played in the league. The coach and Denny Crum was at Louisville. Obviously, Memphis was always a great program at Memphis, and the great players that they had. A lot of those teams had playing in Reed Green Coliseum in Hattiesburg, Mississippi during that time was a very, very difficult place. A lot of good teams came in here and lost. National championship, Louisville, #1 teams in the country and so forth. So anyway, that our job and passion vision again is to return Southern Miss to that. But I remember, to answer your question, I've said it in a really verbose way, is that process is what I remember the most about coming from a team with 7 wins, never understanding the long-term view, the vision of where we were heading, and that just continual progress. And that progress, as we were mentioning Clarence Witherspoon, that progress continued after we left here. And so anyway, we've had some challenges with NCAA and so forth a number of years back, but we're past that, and we're back on our feet, and it's an exciting time to be at Southern Miss.
There seems to be a similarity between when you were a player and seeing the turn of events, the transition, all for the good, as you built up that culture, you built up that roster, and here you are as a head coach doing the same thing. And I saw, Coach, that what do you have, 7 newcomers on your new recruiting class, and sort of like you dealt with as a player, listening to you discuss that, there was a reduced roster, and it looked like last year you were a little bit shorthanded, and here you are bolstering your team with an influx of new guys who are set to really help this program move in the right direction. And as you stack up this roster, and from somebody who used to be a Juco head coach, and there is so much good Juco talent in Mississippi, as you know, in this country and using some of that and bringing it onto your roster. What separates a good JUCO basketball recruiter who really knows the game, really has those relationships, and can really utilize that talent than someone that doesn't?
Well, that's a good question. I really think that, this probably goes back to my roots, again, growing up the son of a coach and coaching at the high school level. I think Bryan, when young men, if they think that you care about them, and I don't want to just say think.
That's a great
If
point.
they're convinced that you truly care about them, that you have their best interest at heart, and that you're not just about what you can get from them out on the floor, and then you have no other relationship. And we tell the young men we're recruiting, I said, I'm going to be the type of coach that I want my own son to play for. And I'm going to coach you like you were my son. And I'm going to treat you like you were truly my son. And I have a son that plays college basketball. He actually plays at Loyola University in New Orleans. And I think when and I learned, I'm going to drop a name that won't mean anything probably to anybody listening to this particular interview. But a legendary coach in Mississippi is a guy named Jackie Laird. Jackie Laird was the head coach at Biloxi High School down on the Mississippi Gulf Coast for many, many years. Incredible coach. Never to this day have ever seen a team play with as much passion, energy, aggressiveness, and intensity as his teams did. Incredible. They were playing at an incredible tempo before it was cool to do that.
Okay.
Back in the 70s and in the 80s. And anyway, and Coach Laird had a relationship with my dad. They had coached in the same league for many years back in their days in high school. So I was somebody that I always looked up to. Coach taught me that one of the things when I was discerning going into coaching, because my dad really didn't want me to go into coaching. He wanted me to go into medicine. But so I'm at Coach Laird's house. I said, Coach, I don't know. And he said, I tell you what, he said, you've got a passion for coaching. You need to go into coaching. He said, you may starve, meaning that high school coaches don't make that much money. He said, but you're going to love every minute of it. And what I learned from him is, and I asked him, I said, well, Coach, how do you get your teams to play with such effort and intensity? He said, because they know I care about them. And he said, if you care about them, they will run through a wall from you can coach them hard because they know you care about it, and you're going to look out for them, and you've got their back. And I'll not that I think that would be who I was anyway, but that's one of the things I think that we still have great relationships from every player and manager that I've ever had back from 1991-92 at St. Stanislaus High School through the 20 years there, obviously Jones County to Southeast Louisiana here. If you care about those guys. So even you mentioned how do you know, how can you differentiate that? I've never thought about it in that terms other than the players that play for me. We're going to pour every ounce of energy, every part of my being into helping them being a better man, a better student, accomplishing their goals. And by the way, Bryan, one of the most things I'm most proud of my years of coaching in Division I, and this will be my 7th year, and we just went 4 for 4 this year, is 100% of our guys that have finished eligibility have graduated. Now, if I may have had a player that leave and transfer to another school and whatnot, I can't control that. It hasn't happened very often, by the way, but I can't control that. But 100% of the guys we've had have graduated. I'm proud of that, and I don't think there's a lot of schools or a lot of coaches that can say that. And I say that with all the great wins that we've had and accomplishments, that's just as important as anything that I think that we've done is that we've had 100% graduation rate. So I think to kind of give you a broad answer to that, I think when they feel like that you truly care about them, they will run through the wall. They're going to give you the best that they have to please you, so to speak. They want that because they know you care about them. And if you care about them, they're going to give you their best effort. And fortunately, I've had a lot of great young men, not just at Southern Miss, but in my entire time of coaching that I literally would run through a wall for them as well. And I think they know that.
There's such a power to developing that deep-rooted respect and compassion between coach and player and that relationship, and how garnering that and harnessing that can really pay dividends for the player's potential, as you said, the team's success, and just the whole culture and chemistry of what you're trying to do. And so that plays into my next question, because as you really can connect with your players, what are your go-to motivating tactics when the team is down at the half? What do you say? What do you go to really rile up the guys and get them to, like you said, run through a wall for you?
Well, Bryan, I think, a lot of that goes back. There's has to be a high expectation. I think any coaching basketball is teaching. You're a teacher, and a coach that doesn't understand that, or someone that fulfills the role of coach that doesn't truly understand that they're first and foremost as a teacher, they're really lost. They're not going to be as successful as maybe some. And if you understand that, then also there's another part of being a coach. If you're a successful teacher, you have to be a successful psychologist as well. And a coach that doesn't understand basic psychology and / motivation is another a coach that won't be very successful. He'll bounce around a bunch of different jobs, and he may fulfill some jobs, but he's never going to be very successful. So I think that a successful coach has to understand that, as first and foremost, is a successful teacher. And there's a number of different ways to motivate your students. In our case, it's basketball players. There's times there with an individual, Bryan, there are times that some players, and this is why getting to know them, this is why you cannot be just a sterile type of coach and walk in at the time, practice starts at 3:00 and just walk in at 3:00 and leave at 5:00 and never have any interaction or thought process or with your players outside. It doesn't work, or maybe you can do that, but you're not going to be very successful, in my opinion. So some players need they may not want to acknowledge this initially, but all young men want discipline and structure. They want the discipline and structure. Discipline is not yelling and screaming and cursing, and that's not what discipline is. Discipline is getting a young man to do the very best that he can, whether you're there or not. That's the purpose of discipline. And once you can get a young man to understand that, again, all young men truly, you yearn for it at your age. I yearn for it. We may not like it sometimes because there's some accountability to that, but it's in our DNA. In every young man's DNA, they like that structure and discipline. So there's some young men, though, that respond better to maybe a little more forceful motivation there, but there's a lot more, I think, and that's a short-term fix at all. I try to avoid that if possible, but there's many more, again, going back to truly caring for them, that will respond to not a soft approach, but a firm, hey, expectation. This is what we need you to do. I'm going to hold you accountable for doing that. So if you understand that, yes, and so at halftime, there's different ways to motivate different players. You have to understand that. But there's also, each team has its own personality. Some of them, particularly the teams that are high strung and you have a culture of highly motivated players, they'll respond a lot better to the fire and brimstone, so to speak. And because they have that natural innate, that culture of competitiveness and aggressiveness, whereas another team may respond more to a more thoughtful approach, or maybe a more statistical approach. And I think you have to kind of understand that as a coach. You have to understand what's your team's mentality. Yeah. But I think there's multiple ways to attack. There's sometimes it's fire and brimstone, as we, deep South, Bryan. Hey, it's a come to Jesus meeting, and that's what we're going to get to at halftime. Other times it's fellas, hey, we're playing hard, but we're just not playing smart. This is what we need to do. So you have to kind of have a feel for that and adjust your motivational techniques, because sometimes if all you are is fire and brimstone, then that loses its effectiveness too. And if you're not a big cursor, but if and you can coach hard, by the way, without cursing. Not saying that I don't let one slip every now and then, but it's certainly not my norm. But you can coach hard without yelling and screaming. You really can. And so anyway, I've had fortunate to have a lot of experience. Fortunate to grow up in a coaching household that was all about athletics. So I was able maybe to have a little bit of more of an insight than maybe a normal kid was. I had a charmed childhood because I got to do and I'm doing today what I wanted to do, or I've always wanted to do. I don't even have a job. My wife complains all the time. She said, "You like what you're doing. You don't even have a job." And I said, I don't feel like I do. And so I've been truly blessed. But anyway, I'm talking a lot around it. But I think Bryan, you have to have a passion for what you're doing. You have to be successful in any job. Obviously, I bet you have a passion for what you're doing, because I can see you there at home talking to me. You obviously have a passion. You're doing what you want to do, and I would encourage all of our young people to find what they want to do and have a passion. But motivation, it goes back to that. They got to care about you. They got to know you care about them, and then you have to have enough experience and understand psychology well enough to what are they going to best respond to given the particular circumstances of that particular game.
Jay Ladner, head coach for Southern Miss, also on the side. He is a PhD in therapy. I'm just kidding. I'm Bryan Fenley.
About that.
Yeah, I'm Bryan Fenley with Fox Sports Radio. And yeah, you brought up a great point, Coach, where you have to adjust and basically tweak how you approach a player, because everybody's mentality is a bit different as far as like, how are they going to respond best to certain motivations? Do I have to rile this guy up, or is it more of a subtle, just pick me up kind of conversation? Everybody's different. And it goes back to the theme that you brought up earlier. You can't do that and curtail the way you motivate with players unless you know them really well and you show that you care, which then goes into them realizing, okay, I'm going to give my all for coach. And as you develop this culture and you head into your second season, we're in this society where there's so much instant gratification. Like, okay, Coach Ladner is here, all the success he has had, I can't wait for that to show on the court. And people sometimes lose sight of the whole need for patience. So how do you deal with that instant gratification culture at a prestigious institution, coaching Division I basketball, but also realizing that this takes some time and a new culture takes patience?
Well, there are no, Bryan, in your field, in my field, or anyway, in whether we can, there's no shortcut to success for long-term success.
Yeah.
Now, there are some shortcuts to short-term success. A lot of times that may involve just sheer luck, or sometimes maybe it's skirting the rules, whatever it may be. But if you want to have true long-term success in what you're doing, there's a process to doing that, and laying a foundation, as we say here, of great success, of a program that's going to have pride and class and dignity in the way that it operates, and in all the people that we touch. Academic, the people on campus, the people in the community, our interaction with our other faculty members, that we're truly, our president, Dr. Rodney Bennett, talks about, he wants our coaches not to be just kind of paid and part-time employees. He wants us involved in our academic mission here, and that we're a big part of the mission. And I bought into that. And that's one reason that when he and I were talking about this job, along with our athletic director, Jeremy McClain, that I think that we jihad, so to speak, and being from the South, using that term, that we came together and eye to eye, so to speak. So it's there's no cheap way to get there. If our job here, we want to not just be a flash in the pan and in a year or two make a run, possibly win our league, get to the NCAA tournament. We want to be able to compete for that championship every year, like the Gonzagas of the world and so forth that have built a program. You know, let's face it. When I was growing up, I never had heard of Gonzaga. I'm giving Mark Few credit because Coach Few and I, when I was coaching at Southeastern Louisiana, had an opportunity to play. We played him again last year down in the Bahamas. So we have a relationship. And I was telling him, you know, and talking to Coach and saying, Coach, y'all are a great model for a school like Southern Miss. And so we got talking, and you know, he said, he said we play. Obviously, they had a great administration commitment to it at Gonzaga in the early '90s. He said, but you know, we played in a high school gym basically at that time, and nobody had ever heard of us. But they did it, and they did it with part of a process. Well, now they're obviously considered one of the top programs in the country, no matter that they are a smaller, not from a Power 5 conference. They're as reputable as anyone and have a great expectation year in, year out. I think that's the type of model that we have to have, and they've done it. And they've done it the right way, so laying that we're laying a foundation here for long-term success, not short-term success for Jay Ladner to get him another high level. I frankly have had that same philosophy. Whatever job that I've had at that particular time, I've never had a bad job, Bryan, and I mean that. St. Stanislaus High School, Oak Grove High School, Jones Junior College, Southeastern Louisiana. They were University of Southern Mississippi. Those were all great jobs for me, and my attitude was, man, I've got a great job here. I'm blessed. I mean, let's face it. I'm coaching basketball. I mean, that's not really a job. I mean, people look at it as a job, and frankly, if I'm not successful, I won't have that particular job that longer. But I mean, a bad day coaching basketball is better than 98% of jobs out there. That's the way I look at it. And I've had 4 great jobs where I've worked for great people, great administrators, and and so therefore, saying all that, we're going to build here, lay a strong foundation for us to be successful every year, and not just try to do it where I can bounce and go get another job. I love this place. This is a dream job for me. May not be for other people, but it is for me because of my particular situation and affection for the city of Hattiesburg, our surrounding areas, South Mississippi in general, but also in Mississippi. We've got a great situation here, Bryan. I'm gonna use this as a chance to recruit a little bit. You know, and I don't know if you've ever been to Hattiesburg, Mississippi.
I have.
College town. You know, we're 60 miles from the Mississippi Gulf Coast. We're 90 miles from New Orleans, one of the great, maybe the most unique city in our country. Close to Baton Rouge. We're 75 miles south of Jackson, Mississippi. I mean, we're in a great location. And Southern Miss is a world-class university. We have an incredible athletic tradition here. We've got an incredibly diverse university led by an outstanding president and athletic director, President Rodney Bennett, athletic director Jeremy McLean. We've got a great tradition. Our facilities are improving daily. It's just a great time to be here. I'm blessed to be part of it.
It seems like the players are also feeling that in your sentiments, because what I've read, Coach, is that you've got 7 newcomers added to the mix in this latest recruiting class. And I hear you've got a pretty nice point guard coming in, and I can sense your excitement for him. What is it about him and the rest of the guys that you feel like are going to really bolster this program and progress it in the way you want?
Well, we talk about, we've got a good group of guys coming back from last year's team. Tyler Stevenson had a great year for us last year. Ladavius Drain, one of the all-time leading career three-point shooters in school history, which have had schools had a lot of really good ones. So we've got a good base of guys that are returning from last year's team. But you're talking about recruiting class, and you referred to a young man named Tay Hardy. Well, you haven't referred to him, but that's who you're referring to. One of the things we're talking about location, Mississippi has one of the outstanding junior college educational systems in the country. Mississippi sometimes gets a bad rap and seems to be a whipping boy, so to speak. But I can tell you one thing that Mississippi has right, that it's not even close. Our junior college system in Mississippi is educationally is the best in the country. I didn't even realize that as much as I did until I became a Division I coach, and I could go see others. And there's certainly some outstanding junior colleges and so forth. But Mississippi has 15 junior colleges, and they are absolutely outstanding. They're well funded. There's a lot of pride in them, and they have a great basketball league inside that league. And I was fortunate to be there at Jones, which is to me one of the best in the league, and I'm obviously a little bit biased. Hattiesburg, talking about location, Bryan, Pearl River Community College is about 25 minutes, 30 minutes south of us. Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College is about 25 minutes, 30 minutes south of us. Jones Junior College is about 15 to 20 minutes north of us. We're surrounded by three of the best junior colleges in the country. Just outside that perimeter, Southwest Mississippi, Copiah Lincoln, East Central, Meridian. Those are the teams that make up the South Division inside of the Mississippi Association of Junior Colleges League, and all within an hour of our campus. I've never understood why Southern Miss didn't maybe take advantage of that a little bit more. Maybe in a lot of reasons for whatever. I understood it growing up in this area, coaching in this area, how valuable, and the play has increased so much. All right, let's go back. We won the national championship. Was fortunate to win the national championship at Jones Junior College. A number of Division I players on that team. Pearl River, this past season, in their shortened season, Pearl River Junior College was ranked number 1 in the country. They were 30-0 and going into the national championship. Well, the best player on Pearl River's team, in my opinion, was Tay Hardy. Tay Hardy was first-team All-American. Someone that we had immediately we realized that we needed to bolster our point guard position, and but we were looking for a particular type of person. He fits that bill and more. Again, he's first-team All-American. He on one of the, if not the top team in the country, certainly one of the top teams for us. And Tay committed to us early. They've got an outstanding program down there. Chris Oney's the head coach. Hayden Sowers the assistant. They do an incredible job. And so not only this year, but we're going to continue to recruit hard inside those programs because of just because of our proximity, but I know that the quality of the coaching going on there and the type of players that they're getting inside that league are guys that can help us accomplish our goal of returning Southern Miss to national prominence, which is what we talked about earlier in terms of our vision. Tay Hardy impacted winning. If you can get players that impact winning more than just what they do in their little finite world of statistics, this is a guy that impacts winning because of his leadership qualities. What he has that rare ability, especially these days, to influence other players in a positive way. Bryan, he's that guy. I'll give you a real quick story, and obviously, generally on a normal year, our players would have reported to summer school. We'd have had our whole team here at the start of June, just like any other Division I team. So that doesn't happen. Tay calls me right after we're kind of in a delay and waiting to see when we can report to campus. And Tay calls me. He said, "Coach," he said, "can you send me all of our players?" Hadn't met any other players other than briefly, He said, "Can you send me everybody's contact information?" I'll be honest with you, Bryan. He caught me so off guard. I was so unused to that. He said, "I said, well, Tay, what do you need to talk to him about?" He said, "Coach, we're going to let them know that, hey, we're not going to be sitting on our tails doing nothing 4 weeks. We got to get ready to win. We can't waste this time. Well, that's a very small synopsis of what he brings to the table. Obviously, his junior college coaches had told me the same type stories. Well, so he impacted winning before he has already impacted winning before he's ever shot a ball, before he's ever made an assist, defended anyone. He's already impacted winning. I'd like to talk, if we do have time, I don't know. I'll talk forever, Bryan. You had to shut me down here in a little bit. But, we were able to sign a first-team All-American, Tay Hardy. DeAndre Pinckney was rated the 15th or 16th best junior college prospect in the country, played at Broward Community College, played for Anthony Anderson down at Broward, who's a great friend of mine and did an incredible job. In fact, unfortunately, they've shut their program down. But, DeAndre's a 6'9", just an athlete, 3, 4, 5 guy. So so we have first team All-American. We've got the 15th rated player in the country. Justin Johnson is another young man, he's from the Fort Lauderdale area. He and DeAndre grew up about a mile from each other, played at different high schools. Well, he ended up playing at South Georgia Tech. And is he was the 13th rated player in the country junior college wise. So we got some immediate help coming in, first team All-American, 13th rated, 15th rated guys that can give an immediate impact. But we also have a great group of, and I always say we're in the deep South, and players can relate to it. We're always at Southern Miss, I think, going to be kind of a gumbo. You know what gumbo is? Just a kind of a combination, a bunch of different ingredients. We're in our proximity to the Mississippi Gulf Coast and to Louisiana. Gumbo, everybody eats gumbo. Well, we're always going to be kind of a gumbo. Well, a gumbo means to us we're going to be a combination of high school signees. We're going to be a combination of junior college signees and Division I transfers. That's probably who Southern Miss is going to be throughout our tenure here. A little bit of both, and try to get the best of you have the high school kids to give you that long-term stability. Sure. Coming back, they understand the system, the drills, the coaching. Your junior college players that can come in and assimilate quickly, give you some immediate impact, as well obviously as the craziness we have in Division I transfers. We have a young man so that's 3 of our junior college guys. A young man named Tyler Mormon, who I had recruited when I didn't have any success recruiting him, but it was at Southeastern Louisiana. He played at Florida Southwest junior college and signed with Wyoming. Well, he got hurt in the second year this year at Wyoming. Then they had a coaching change, kind of reverted back to some of our relationship, and so we were able to. Tyler's coming in this year. We're hoping for immediate eligibility. It feels like he fits the bill, but that's what we're hoping for there. Sure. And then we've signed some outstanding high school players. I talked about our proximity, Bryan, to New Orleans. When I was coaching at Southeastern Louisiana, obviously we were right there, right outside of New Orleans, and we just they play a very high level of basketball. Well, one of the most storied programs in New Orleans is St. Augustine High School. Everybody in the Deep South would be familiar with St. Aug. A lot of pros have come out of there. Avery Johnson, who recently coached Alabama, played at St. Aug. But that trust me, he's just one of them. Just an incredible school athletic tradition. They play in what they call the Catholic League in New Orleans, which is all the large Catholic schools. Big. It's almost like a collegiate league, coaching, high level of play. Well, Jerron Pierre, it was the best player in the city of New Orleans this past year. And I think behind the young man from Baton Rouge that signed with Virginia, probably the second best prospect in the entire state. Well, our proximity to New Orleans, we were able to get in there and get what I think was the best player, obviously, certainly one of the top 2 or 3 players in the entire state of Louisiana. We're going to continue to recruit New Orleans. And there's a great, a long time tradition of New Orleans athletes playing here at Southern Miss because of our proximity and tradition. So we've had a lot of success over the years with New Orleans, Louisiana players. That's part of our geographical imprint here at Southern Miss. And for us to go in there and get Jerron Pierre from New Orleans really gives us an incredible shot in the arm. This is a high school player who's got a chance to come in and make an immediate impact. As you can see, I'm very, very high on him. We were able to go to we signed a young man in the finest physical specimen I've ever seen, Jaron Pierre. Javarzier Belton. Just talked about Jaron Pierre. Javarzier Belton from Moravian Prep. So we got into the prep school ranks in North Carolina. I've never seen a young man as big and strong as he is. A little bit raw in terms of his basketball ability, but you can't coach 6'10". He was 6'10", 281, and not an ounce of fat on him. And just an incredible young man. So we've had a great class. Excited about that class. A couple of preferred walk-ons as well, who I think can be really good players. Kai Steinman from Champaign, Illinois area, and another young man from here in Hattiesburg. His name was Blake Roberts, whose dad was a former quarterback here. And those are really good players on their own right. So we've got a good returning class and a great group of guys coming in. I just can't be more excited about the long-term stability of our program. And considering that even on this year's roster, we'll lose one scholarship player. In LaDavius Drain, we'll lose one more, a preferred walk-on who does a great job for us, in Clay Weatherspoon. That's Coach Weatherspoon's son. Okay. But otherwise, we'll have these guys back again the following year. So we feel like if we can put one more good recruiting class together after this year, we can put one more together. We'll be closer to where we want to get in terms of bringing Southern Miss basketball back to the top.
Yeah, and it will get there. Helping you get to that point are the workouts that you're starting to get involved with your guys, getting out there, getting shots up in the gym. So my final question for you here, Coach Ladner, and so glad and so grateful for you to be on here.
I'm blessed and honored you would even think of me to have me. I appreciate it.
Of course. And my final question is, with the amount of time that you are allocated to get on the court with your players now, and maybe some guys are not even on campus yet, and dealing with who's on campus, who's not, but what can you accomplish in these workouts? How are you proceeding with them in getting as much out of them as possible?
Well, we were able to start on, as you probably know, July 20th was the first day that Division I teams could actually work with their players. And so as compared to last summer, and let me I'll kind of put it this way. Well, first of all, you mentioned we had 10 of our players, of our 16 roster players, 10 were on campus.
Okay.
There were 2 foreign players that we really, I imagine I'm speaking for a lot of the schools, really had some challenges of being able to get them back. They actually just their international orientation was just this week. So they just got on campus this past weekend. So we didn't have them at all. One of them was a returning player, Artur Kanatzik, who started for us last year. And the other one was as a newcomer named Mark Jackson, who I wasn't able to refer to. But anyway, very high on those guys. But had Stroh, so we didn't have those 2 guys. 2 of our junior college guys were finishing up because of the way the COVID hit, and it sliced up their semester. They had to finish courses this summer. They're in the process. They've already actually finished those courses now. Be reporting to school this week. Didn't have 2 of those guys. Clay Weatherspoon was doing an internship as part of his graduation with the Miami Heat. And so we didn't have our whole team here. I felt though, Bryan, in the short period of those couple of weeks, or the couple weeks that we've had them, I put it this way: we're further along this year after just 2 weeks than we were at any time last summer. Obviously, we were brand new last summer, and they were new to us. We were new to them, our team. But we were further along after 2 weeks than we were after 8 weeks last year. So that's exciting. I like the culture of our team. The way that they, there's ways that winning teams approach things one way, and I don't care if junior highs or high schools, junior colleges, the professional ranks. winning teams are going to approach practice and their work one way. Losing teams, losing cultures are going to approach it another way. It's just that there's characteristics of winning, there are characteristics of losing individually and as a team. And I like the boxes that we were checking on the right side, on the side of, hey, this is what it takes to win. This is what our approach every day. And that's what we try to do. I know it sounds simplistic and cliche-ish to say, but we just try to be better today than we were yesterday. We don't get caught up in this huge picture. We want our players every single day to want to come. That's where the motivation techniques come in. We want them to look forward to coming. I don't want basketball players that, oh man, I got to go see Ladner today. He's going to be, I can't stand it. We want them, hey man, I'm part of something here. We're part of something. And there's an innate need. We talked about a need for young men to feel they function better, they accomplish more, they feel part of something. And we're building that something here at Southern Miss, or rebuilding it, I should say. So I'm more pleased than I would have anticipated after just having them a short couple of time. We're now, we may or may not win another game, but I have another game than we won last year. Maybe we'll win this, and maybe it won't translate, but I think it will. But I know this: I've enjoyed working with them. They're highly motivated as a group. They're talented as a group. They're more talented than what we have. We're bigger, stronger, faster, better, and have a good approach. So I've been really pleased. Just so far, it's going to change. It's not always going to be sunny in 72, Bryan. Not always going to be sunny in 72 outside like it is in South Mississippi most of the time. But it will be it's been fun to work with them so far. And I'm excited about the fall semester starting, us getting to work. And then obviously we certainly hope that we're headed for a season. Who knows what's going to happen. But we can't control that. All we can control is what we can control, and that's trying to get better every day.
Weathering the highs and lows of this job, nobody better to do it than Jay Ladner, Southern Miss head coach. Jay, thanks so much for doing this, and I'm excited for you guys to get back out on the court, and I look forward to checking in with you as we get more progress towards playing and seeing the product that you're about to display there in Hattiesburg.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a great honor. Look forward. Hopefully you'll have me on again in a state of the union, so to speak. How have they done, since this interview,
Exactly.
and maybe we can come back and hopefully we'll have shown great progress. But again, I'm very honored that you would think enough of me to have me on, and I mean that.